Let's talk about Canelo. I said a bit earlier in the show that I love him, not just for the fact that he's a fantastic fighter who has not many faults at all when I watch him, but the fact he gives us fights. All of these superstars in boxing now seem to be once a year, if we're lucky. With Canelo, you kind of guaranteed, and you have been guaranteed for the last 10 years, at least 2 fights a year. There was a time when he actually had 3 fights. I think it was back in 2016 or 2017. He takes on John Ryder this weekend. Look, before we have that conversation about whether or not John could potentially cause one of the biggest upsets in boxing history, I know, Gareth, you spoke to Canelo, and this is what he had to say about beating up Brits.
I'm sorry for all the UK people, but they are in my way, so I need to do it.
And was there any chance of you in the future coming to fight in the UK, because you have so many fans here?
I will love to fight in UK, my friend. I've been thinking in this long time ago. So I will love to fight there, but it's gonna be soon, believe me.
Great scoop there, Gareth, as well, by the way, getting Canelo on fight week. Look, he is the Brit basher, isn't he? I mean, we've chucked so many Brits at him, and he's just battered them all back. He literally has. And it's funny, when you think of the names, if someone was to line up all the names of all the Brits that have fought him and hadn't watched the fights, I don't think many would have picked that his toughest one would have been Matthew Hatton.
Yeah,
I don't
but
think he would have done it.
Yeah.
I think that was probably the guy that gave him actually the best fight. I know it was way back when, but it probably was. When you think of people would have picked Billy Joe or Callum Smith, Matthew Hatton.
He was 20 then, though, and it was in 2011. And if you think that, he's beatable, Canelo. He's been beaten when he was 22 by Floyd Mayweather. I was there at that event. Weirdly, of course, one of the judges scoring it a draw.
Yeah.
Majority decision.
Was that CJ Ross? Was it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Well, that might have been in the... Yes, it was CJ Ross,
I think
actually.
It might have been,
yeah. I was thinking the Golovkin fight for a minute, and he's obviously had the draw with Golovkin. That wasn't a draw. And then he had the loss to Dimitri Bivol. We know he's beatable.
Look at those names, though. Look at those names you mentioned.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, if he's getting beat by the absolute best.
Yeah. Well, look, I think he has become the standard bearer for the sport. Even long ago, Cotto. I mean, we've got to mention all the Brits, haven't we?
Yeah.
Like you say, Matthew Hatton, Ryan Rhodes, Liam Smith, Callum Smith, Rocky Fielding, Amir Khan. And I'm forgetting one.
Billy Joe Saunders.
And Billy Joe Saunders.
Yeah.
So, as he says, he's sorry that he's the Brit basher. They're just in and around his weight division. But I love the fact that it's been an ambition of his for a long time to come and fight in the UK. That is outstanding as well. And I'm surprised he hasn't fought here already.
Yeah.
In many ways. Because as he's always said to me, I mean, I used to speak to him in Spanish, his English is so much better now, and we see a different side of him. He's got so many fans here, so many fans around the world. He doesn't look Mexican for a start.
No.
He fights...
John Ryder looks more Mexican than Canelo.
Yeah, he does. Well, he's almost like the... if you dyed him red, if you dyed John Ryder red, it just looks like Canelo in the mirror, doesn't it? The Southpaw version.
Yeah.
But it's, look, for me, this is a really tough fight for John Ryder to go to Guadalajara. To 12 years he hasn't fought there for, and he's going to want to put on a show for his fans.
Yes.
And Ryder's best performance for me was against Callum Smith, the fight he lost. But he was in and out, tenacious, boxed really well, in and out of range. Defense was good that night. And that's the way that Dimitri Bivol beat Canelo. Great defense, great jab, got ahead in rounds. And Canelo likes to load up after about 2 or 3 rounds and really throw big shots. And that's what Ryder's got to do in this fight. That's his way to win.
Yeah.
To get behind the jab, to frustrate Canelo early, to outbox him early, let him load up, because he wants to get people out there. He's going to want to be spectacular. John Ryder does not want to get involved in a firefight with Canelo in Guadalajara at home.
No,
because
they're
that
going
is
to be
exactly what he
baying for
wants.
blood. Yeah, they'll be baying for
Yeah.
blood, honestly.
Yeah.
Let's hear from John Ryder. He spoke to Boxing Social, and he spoke about Canelo's recent run and schedule of fights. And he wonders whether or not we are starting to see Canelo on the slide just a little bit.
He's become a more economical version of his former self. Yeah. He's not got the work rate he once possessed. Listen, that could all be down to the injury, but I think he's a year and a day younger than me, so I can't say he's an aging fighter, but he's got a lot of miles on the clock, miles that I haven't got. Listen, you can say he had 50 odd fights, 60 fights. Right. It's a lot of camps to have back to back. I think the year of 2021 took a lot out of him. Obviously, the undisputed year at super middleweight, and then obviously last year took his toll again. So he's had some very active years in the last couple of years, and you just don't know what they're doing to his body long term.
John Ryder there speaking to Boxing Social. I mean, he must be on the slide a little bit. I mean, don't get me wrong. I still think Canelo is pound for pound top 5. Some might even argue that he's higher than that. But I mean, this is a guy that's had an 18-year career, as you mentioned. Was it over 60 fights? I mean, it does take it out of your body. He's fighting at a weight class, I think, where he's still a 160 guy, really. He's gone up to 175. I mean, have we seen the best Canelo, or is there still more stories to come? I do wonder if John has a point here. Don't get me wrong, I don't think he's diminished to the point where he's on John's level, but I do wonder whether or not, the Canelo that fought Golovkin the second time is the peak, and now we are starting to see a slow decline in the great man.
Yeah, there's an argument for that. And yet, I thought the Caleb Plant was a really good performance.
Yeah.
Dimitri Bivol is a big guy, and Canelo is fighting 2 weight divisions above himself. I just think that there's more in him. I think I want to see the David Benavidez fight rather. That's a massive, massive fight at super middleweight. It's a fight I want to see him in. I mean, David Benavidez, don't I? Not Jose. Yes,
it is David.
Yeah, that's the fight I want to see. I think that is a tumultuous clash.
Yeah. Those are the 2 fights for me. Benavidez and Bivol are the fights for me.
The rematch
that make him the greatest Mexican ever if he were to win.
Yeah.
If he were to beat them.
And look, Canelo is only 32. Yes, he's had a long career, but I can see him going on for 3 or 4 more years. Why would he stop now? He's inking $30 million every time he fights. He's an extraordinary star. His golf's developing. He's playing off 8. I touched on that in the interview with him. And he thinks he'd like to go on and play more golf, but he thinks he's come to the sport too late. He's playing off 8. He only took it up 3 years ago.
He's an incredible athlete. He's just
and he's got a beautiful swing. The analysts have said his swing is good enough.
You play golf? Do you play golf?
I don't play golf. I know it spoils a good walk. As Oscar Wilde said, it spoils a good walk.
That's a good one. That's actually a good one. Go on, predictions. What are you thinking? How does this play out?
I think Ryder will try and box him, and I think he'll get stopped between rounds 7, 8, and 9.
It's not the worst, is it?
No,
he's got his paycheck, Ryder.
Yeah,
he'll be happy. Yeah. And as I said, there's not enough security to get him out of Mexico. So if I'm him, just maybe take that paycheck and get back to Islington as quick as possible.
Conor Benn's going to be there with him.
Conor Benn.
Tony Sims is going to be there with him.
Yeah, Conor Benn's started speaking a bit now, speaking to the media. And what I like as well, he's been honest and said, look, he handled it all wrong.
Yeah.
He handled it all wrong.
He's got some regrets, he said.
Yeah, that's what he said.
He's got some regrets. He hasn't handled it all wrong. Don't misreport me. We'll never talk to you again.
Yeah, I don't know if he's talking to me now.
But I'm glad he said that because there's been a realization, Eddie, that maybe it hasn't been everyone else's fault,
Yeah, and you've got to take some responsibility for your own actions as well. But hopefully it's not just him admitting he's got a few things wrong. His PR team, his management team have got a few. Like I keep thinking of that Piers Morgan interview, and I'm still in my head. I'm still thinking of that all the time.